What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video. Hope you're all doing very, very well. I did some keys on the Shadow Priest, and I'm gonna keep doing some keys on the Shadow. I'm gonna keep doing some keys on the Shadow Priest. Don't worry about me. I'm doing all right. Really enjoy the current tier set bonus in season 3, and I think it's going away in the faded season. So, actually, pretty sad about that. Because this thing is really fun. Shadow Word Death triggers a multitude of extra times, of course, is the main thing that's going on here. Whenever you take damage from Shadow Word Death, you're stacking up on your big Shadow Crash or, of course, Shadow Word Pain. But it's that Shadow Word Death. That's the main thing that's going on with this set, and it feels really fun to play. And I kind of regret not jumping onto this ult earlier. This season, of course, I did commit to doing an Elemental Shaman. And, of course, I have my Monk, my Mistweaver Monk that I had to play in Raid. So, a lot of the other ults that I had to play kind of got pushed down, and Shadow Priest was one of those. But, we have been doing some keys lately. This thing is incredibly fun. I'm going to jump into a dungeon and just show you what it's all about. Here's what my stats are looking like. This is not an optimized character, so just bear with me there. I'm only 478. I have a decent couple of trinkets here, some cool mythic items, but generally speaking, we are not totally optimized. That's just kind of the way it goes. But I do want to talk about Shadow Priest and how fun. Next season, oh my god, and how fun it is in these keys. This is a plus 18 rise that we did here. A couple things really surprised me about the damage from Shadow Priest. Number one, it being a caster. I really, was used to playing Shadow Priest in previous seasons and feeling like I was a little bit more locked down, like feeling less mobile. And it feels like to me that with the tier set bonus focusing largely on Shadow Word Death, that I got a lot more mobility in the kit because you get all these procs on Shadow Word Death, and they made Shadow Word Death a 10-second cooldown instead of a 20. I think it was 20 early on in like Season 1 and Season 2. So those changes really make it so that you have a global that you can press and move at the same time, and you can avoid all kinds of mechanics, which is awesome. Makes it feel really smooth as a caster. Made it feel a lot more like my Ellie Shaman, which is like moving whenever I press Lava Burst, and Lava Burst is proccing all the time. So it's not difficult. You can see we're maintaining a decent amount of damage here for only being 478 item level and unoptimized stats. So I really like it a lot. Really enjoyed the mobility, and it's going to come up later in some of the fights. Mobility really matters for casters, and I think that what separates, I think, really good casters from ones that aren't optimizing their damage as much is how often they can move while casting, how often they're able to utilize movement as a means of getting more damage, and your positioning in general needs to be absolutely on point, or else you're going to really struggle to keep your damage up. Melee players can, of course, just move and attack all the time, right? Generally speaking. So their only worry is about getting hit by extra mechanics in melee. For range, we get a really long distance. We can avoid mechanics like this orb that almost wrecked me. That was so close. You can easily avoid mechanics, but the cost is that you have to stand still while casting, so there's some mechanics that are going to force you to move. So again, these extra movement globals, things like the instant Mind Blast, Devouring Plague, and now having Shadow Word Death proc all the time, being able to move while proccing it, getting additional procs just from the from Death Speaker is really, really cool. Feels really good for this build, and ends up equaling a lot of damage, as you can see there. Sorry, my camera's a little bit small there compared to my other one. I should just make this bigger. Make it a little bit. There we go. Not triggering anybody. But anyway, it just really impressed me. There's so much mobility required. And then getting the extra procs on Shadow Word Death inside of an execute window, that was really important. And it became much more, as I did a few keys, as I did more and more keys, I began to realize how important it was to actually squeeze in those Shadow Word Deaths inside of an execute window to make sure that I was optimizing my damage, because you obviously get one reset on Shadow Word Death if you hit somebody inside of an execute window, which is awesome. But, of course, that only has a 10-second cooldown now. It used to have a much longer cooldown. So on bosses on Tyrannical Week, like this week is, you can fit in so many more Shadow Word Deaths inside of the execute window and just get the extra procs on your tier set bonus, which are then going to proc, of course, a bigger damage spike on your Shadow Crash or your Shadow Repain. So it all kind of fits together, and it really is enjoyable to play. Really, really fun to try out, and I just haven't had a lot of experience with it. But another thing on this fight, this is the tier fight, of course, I realized how much damage I can just pump into the boss while collecting orbs. Everybody else ran to the far away point, so I was just hitting him with Shadow or Death. I was hitting him with Devouring Plagues. I think I get this orb, yeah. I was able to collect orbs and do damage at the same time, which was really, really cool. Like, I smacked him so many times with Shadow or Death during the intermission. Let's go to the next intermission here. It's right in the execute window, and we have our...
the execute is so cool.
Yeah.
I forgot how good that was.
I'll just let my past self talk about it. So watch this.
No!
He's got his shield, but I'm hitting him with Shadow or Deaths right now. And I'm going to collect some orbs. I'm kind of being lazy on the orbs, not going to lie. But I can hit him with damage right now. Boom, boom, boom.
We can do so much damage while moving. That's actually insane. In execute, of course.
Yeah, we did like 3 procs right there. Here's one. 1 proc right here. 1. And then I got another proc for free. 2.
We can do so much damage while moving.
So we did 3 while we were moving in execute and like
insane.
reduced his shield by quite a bit.
Execute, of course.
It was really, really cool. So again, these different concepts coming together for Shadow Priest,
wild, dude.
they really surprised me. Shut up, Pasuko. Shut up. They really surprised me because I just wasn't expecting the amount of damage you can pump out while being able to move, and it all really happens in the execute window. You can see our Shadow of Death did 20% of our damage there. So, yeah, that part took me by surprise, and it wasn't something that I think I was used to in the previous iterations of Shadow Priest in Season 1 or Season 2, because the Shadow of Death cooldown used to be longer, and the Death Speaker talent setup was not really optimal for Season 1 or Season 2. But this Season 3's tier set bonus, of course, is all about Shadow or Death. So it's completely optimal to run that talent and to get the benefits from it. So, like, I love, look at these procs. I just got 3 in a row right there, which is awesome. And then we're going to get into execute here. That guy's already dead, but we're going to get the second guy into execute. And then I'm going to get my procs ready. So then we can go Shadow or Death. And another Shadow of Death coming back. Shadow of Death. Shadow of Death. We got the reset there from him being in execute. So it's just really, really great. I love the amount of mobility you have, the amount of ability to kind of play that game in execute. I love having additional little mechanics for whatever spec that I'm playing, where it's like, okay, I need to min-max my damage or my healing by making sure that I'm hitting people at the right time, doing the right thing. That Shadow or Death mini gameplay there is really fun. I enjoy that a lot, and I think that I wish that other specs, like, honestly had more mechanics like that, more little games you can play. Now, one thing that I was struggling on, I think, a little bit in this section of the dungeon was how to do damage as a Shadow Priest during this section. And I think if any of you guys play Shadow and you want to weigh in the comments here, this is where I would love to hear from you guys. Some of these mobs just die really quickly, and I don't know if it's, like, worth using my trinket, when it's worth using my Shadow Crash. And I think, like, I should have just been sending all these cooldowns because it doesn't really matter. But it's so weird to have mobs coming in at different health thresholds, and they come in at random moments in time. So then I have to, like, apply my dots, but that's such a waste of a GCD because the mobs can just die 2 seconds later. I was really trying to figure out how to, like, optimize my damage during these moments because it was a little frustrating, I'm not going to lie. So I would love to hear from any of you guys if you guys have done this fight and you have a really, really good way of optimizing your damage in here, something that I might have missed. Please let me know. I would love to hear from you because, again, like right here, I only get 1 dot out, and then my damage is kind of over. So anyway, I think my damage was still fine here, but I just would I know I could do better. So I would love to hear from you guys how to do better in that section of the dungeon. This was really surprising to me, this 3-target cleave here. We do our Shadow Crash into a Dark Ascension plus Mindbender, and then we're kind of off to the races. I should have been pressing Shadow or Death much sooner, but I kind of, again, I'm not really amazing at this yet. We're getting there. But our damage still climbs pretty high. We ended up doing, I think, over 200k here, which was really cool. Shadow or Death starts proccing, and we just start going crazy. Boom, 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 boom. 3 in a row right there. We did 3 in a row. Ended up doing 220k. Like, it's so cool when you get a proc. It feels so fantastic. I can't get over how good it feels, honestly. There's a Shadow Crash. I was talking to Asterial about this, and he's very, very good at Shadow Priest. He plays Shadow Priest in most of the keys that I run. He's much better at it than I am. And he was telling me that it's much, much better just to send your Shadow Crash when you get the buffs. Because when you press Shadow Word Death, you're buffing your next Shadow Crash or Shadow Word Pain. To me, I thought Shadow Word Pain made more sense on single target fights because it would just do way more damage. But he was talking about just pressing Shadow Crash as it's just generally better. So I would love to hear from you guys what you think about that too. I think that makes sense to me because if you look at the actual damage tooltips, they made Shadow Word Crash do a lot more damage. And then, of course, you get the extra optimization of having Shadow Crash reapply your dots. So if you only press Shadow Word Pain in that single target environment, you're not getting the refresh on your dots, which is actually maybe the more important part of that whole equation. So, yeah, I think that I'll just need to make sure I'm optimizing that a little bit more. Get some Shadow Word Death procs right off the bat here. Again, it just doesn't seem difficult to start doing damage as a Shadow Priest. I really thought that you need to ramp into your dots doing lots of damage, but unfortunately our dots have not done damage for a long time. Like, they're not the biggest component of your damage. It's a lot more about other abilities. Here's a Shadow Word Death in execute. I got to proc it twice. You can see how much damage that ends up doing. It's just really strong. Yeah, I don't know. I just can't get over how good this thing is. Here's the boss fight. Again, a lot of mobility is required on this boss fight because of Shockwave. He's going to aim this at me. I start channeling my Void Torrent. This was bad timing on my part. I start channeling Void Torrent. He gets me. I get most of my Void Torrent out, but not all of it, so that was bad by me. But I can move while casting, right? Instant Mind Blast, instant Shadow Word Death, instant Devouring Plague. So just really awesome to have all those tools to be able to actually move while casting. It's going to help you on so many. There are so many fights that require you to move as a caster, and I think other casters are going to struggle compared to Shadow Priest because this build is just amazing. The only time you really have to sit and plant is really for Void Torrent. Void Torrent is the big one, but generally you just don't really have to sit and plant for that long. I just Void Torrented down this ad because he does the serrated axe, so I wanted to make sure that he was dead. So I just blew kind of that cooldown on him to make sure that he died, and then we continue on with our day. And my second Void Dark Ascension Mindbender is coming up. We got a couple procs on my Shadow Word Death right away, which is awesome. Keep the dots on the enemy. I was trying to tell the Shaman to lust because we should have lusted much earlier. I think he does pop it right there. There we go. Now we're doing a lot of damage because we're getting procs much more quickly. Insanity, Halo. I'm going to channel my Void Torrent after the Shockwaves. Oh, no, I do it right in the middle of Shockwaves. Once again, we get most of the Void Torrent out of the way, so it's not a big deal. In Lust, that Void Torrent channel is so much faster, so it's not really a huge problem. I try to channel throw my Shadow Crash at these mobs to make sure that I dot everything as much as possible, but they do die really quickly, so that might have been a waste of a Shadow Crash. I'm not really sure. It still did the upfront damage. The ads do need to die, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. Here comes our execute. We're in execute now. Shadow Word Death, Shadow Word Death, Shadow Word Death. We're going to get so many procs here. Boom, 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 boom. It feels so good when you get into execute on this thing, I'm telling you. It just really did surprise me. 150k overall. I'm committing. Good stuff. I actually almost died there. I thought he was going to get the channel off. I think we're over to Morchie here. I Mind Soothe this guy. Remember, if you're a priest, you can Mind Soothe these ads, and you can just walk past them. You do not need to kill these ads. The amount of count in this dungeon is, like, really high. So you can just Mind Soothe and walk past them, but then the tank just charges in. I don't know what he was doing. I did my best, okay? That's the best that I can do. Our damage here is crazy, though. Watch our damage. I Shadow Crash. Our dots are out. Dark Ascension, Mindbender, Mind Blast into Shadow Word Death, into Shadow Word Death. I get a Halo as well. Our damage is just crazy here. We get an Execute proc. Unfortunately, I did my Shadow Word Death before the Execute proc came in, so I kind of messed that part up. But we can get an Execute proc over on this guy now, and we can do it right. Here we go. Shadow Word Death, Shadow Word Death at the end of the fight. Boom, lots of procs. 300k DPS there. I was shocked. Our Mindbender just went absolutely crazy there. Here's the Morchie fight. Not really much going on with this fight. Make sure you have to find the clone, of course. Refresh your dots, I would say, before she transforms into a dragon slash... She can, like... It's really weird that you lose... you're going to lose the aggro on her. You're going to lose the ability to target her when she goes into a dragon. It's kind of weird that they haven't fixed that as part of this fight. But We do get into our Dark Ascension window here. I'm pre-positioning into the middle of the arena so that when the ads spawn, I can just immediately put one into a circle. So here comes the familiar faces. They're going to spawn under my feet. And then I can move while casting with my Shadow Word Death, with my Instant Mind Blast. Pop Fade here. And you can also heal yourself if you want to. Flash healing yourself will give you this little buff up here. So it's on the class side. It gives you 10% DR. So I have Fade plus this going on. Very important. You can see my health. I'm a lot healthier than everybody else right now, I think, because I had 20% DR when those explosions were going off. On a higher tyrannical key, this boss is really nasty. Like, you take so much damage from the ads exploding. So you do need to, like, pre-fade, just flash heal yourself really quickly, and then you'll have 20% damage reduction when those things are going off. Once again, I forgot to heal myself this time. There, I'm flash healing now. So I have Fade running and the flash heal DR right now on the top of the screen there, and I'm going to take a lot less damage as these ads are popping off. It's really helpful. This is your only way of really making yourself tanky as a Shadow Priest. Obviously, you have Dispersion, but I'm talking about, like, trying to maintain damage while you have your those are the best ways to do it. 20% DR is pretty good, actually. And then, of course, if you're in real trouble, you can press Dispersion and you'll be absolutely fine. Okay, let's move on to the final section of the dungeon. We're going to go through the portal. This last pack is super dangerous. These three guys, it's not Fort Week, so it's not too bad. But watch how much damage we end up getting here. Shadow Crash, Dark Ascension, Mind Bender, into Devouring Plagues, and Shadow Word Deaths, and our Mind Blast, of course. And we're taking a lot of damage. I forgot to fade, and I forgot to flash heal. So that was actually a huge blunder on my part. I was taking a lot of damage here. Should not have been taking that much damage. Remember, you can always channel stuff while these lines are going out. They're not going to damage you until they actually start coming out. So right now, I'm standing on the lines. I'm not worried. At the last second, I can move. And that line that would have damaged me, you know, if you need to min-max your damage there, you really can. It's okay. You don't have to worry about, like, getting off of them right away. Finally, I fade like a good DPS player should, and our damage is pretty strong here. I'm very happy about it. We're into Execute now, getting lots of procs on Shadow Word Death. It is really cool just to have a spec where your damage starts to skyrocket towards the end of a fight. Kind of cool. Here's the final boss. This is Chrono-Lord Deios. I think somebody else volunteered. The shaman said that he was going to take care of these circles, so I had free reign to just do damage. So I move out of my circle. Somebody else moves out of their circle, and then lo and behold, nobody stepped into it. We took crazy damage right there. That was a mistake on the shaman's part because he said he was going to do it. So I'm just letting you know, not my fault, okay? Our Shadow Crash hits both enemies here. That's pretty important. Refreshing your dots, obviously, very important. But even just the upfront damage of Shadow Crash is buffed because of our tier set bonus. And then you can kind of cheese some Execute gameplay here where the ads are getting into Execute. And that damage is going to splash onto the boss because of Psychic Link. So that's part of how you want to play this fight, I think, as a Shadow Priest. Let me know if I'm wrong about that. But I think that you want to, like, focus your damage on the boss until you get the ads going. And then you can focus on the ads. They need to die. So it's not bad to put your damage into the ads like this. But then you're going to be getting Psychic Link splashing from the Execute window on all of these ads. It's a really cute little thing you can do as a Shadow Priest, so I think you should definitely try and do that. Move across the map, kill these ads. We're burning them down. And again, here's where your mobility is really good. You can move while casting during this intermission phase. You can also hit the boss while he's up in the air. You just have to get close enough. So here I can hit him with Shadow Word Death and my Devouring Plague, and then I start casting. So make sure you don't mess this up. You need to move here on this intermission, of course, but you can cast your instant cast spells like your Shadow Word Death while moving, while getting out of the way. Here comes a Shadow Crash. And you can hit him when he's up in the sky. That's a nice little thing for casters there. Here comes the orbs. We're doing lots of damage. Once again, we're going to have to move in a second. I hit him with the mind. Oh, my God. I can't remember what it's called right now. The bad spell you're not supposed to take. Mind Games. I don't know how much healing this ended up doing here. But he's got Mind Games on him right now, and he's doing damage to everybody. But we're going to heal for a portion of the damage that he deals right there. Because, so, I think timing your Mind Games could actually help you on this fight. It really doesn't matter. But he's going to heal you, and during the during that moment when he's putting dots on the ground and you have to run away. Everybody's taking crazy amounts of damage there. So it might be good to time your mind games there. Now we're into the execute phase, and because it's tyrannical and this boss has a crazy amount of max HP, you get so much out of the execute phase on this fight. You get so many procs on your Shadow Word Death. It's really, really cool. There's one. There's two in a row. There's a third one. It's amazing how much extra damage you're going to get out of this fight as you get into the execute phase, because he still has 44 million health left. So every 10 seconds, we're going to be getting that free proc on our Shadow Word Death, which is so good. Then we get a crazy amount of haste from the dragons coming down, and then we're moving again. I'm getting a cast off, then we're moving. Shadow Word Death, Shadow Word Death. Boom, boom, boom. 3 in a row there. Into a big Shadow Crash. There I can channel my Void Torrent for a couple seconds here. Then this is really cool. I think I get 3 or 4 procs in a row here. Watch this. We do a Shadow Word Death. There's Insanity. I pop my Shadow Word Death while moving after I do Dark Ascension. Shadow Word Death. Shadow Word Death. I get the execute proc, so Shadow Word Death. Then I get another proc again. Shadow Word Death, get another proc again. You can see at the bottom, +1. Shadow Word Death again. That was like 5 or 6 in a row. Another proc as we're moving here inside of our Dark Ascension window. This is doing even more damage. Another proc. It just refreshed there. It's really amazing. You can see how the build kind of works. In execute on boss fights that take forever, this kind of stuff is amazing to be able to do. So, really enjoyed the key. Did 160k over 158k overall. Devouring Plague, Shadow Word Death are our top damage. I think if I'm playing this correctly, Psychic Link is supposed to be my top damage, but I think on tyrannical weeks, Devouring Plague gets a little bit more value because you're on boss fights for a lot longer. There's less Psychic Link value, whereas on 4 to 5 weeks, your Psychic Link damage is going to go way up because there's more mobs that are alive for longer, right? So this is kind of what it looked like. I had a really good time, guys. I really enjoy this. These are the talents that I'm taking. I did take the extra cooldown reduction on mine on Void Torrent. I think Astero was telling me I'm supposed to take 2 points in Insidious Ire, which I totally understand. I just kind of liked having the 30-second cooldown. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about the build and about anything Shadow Priest. I am having an absolute blast with it right now in this season. And I think in the Fated season, it's going away. So really, if you haven't played Shadow Priest yet, now is the time to jump in, get your tier set bonus unlocked, and have fun with Shadow Word Death while you still can, because it's an absolute blast, but I do think it's going away in the next season. So thank you so much again for watching, guys. I love you all. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next one.